Star Trek has a new Deep Space Nine. Starbase 80's mission explains Star Trek Lower Decks' series finale ends with the animated comedy creating its own version of Deep Space Nine. The USS Cerritos was the only starship in the United Federation of Planets that could stop a deadly soliton wave from wiping out Star Trek's prime timeline. In the end, a new stable portal to infinite quantum realities was opened, and only one starbase could guard this wormhole to the multiverse. Star Trek Deep Space Nine's original mission saw the space station led by Commander, later Captain, Benjamin Sisko, Avery Brooks, transported from Bajor to guard the wormhole to the Gamma Quadrant. Known by the Bajorans as the Celestial Temple where their gods, the prophets, reside, the wormhole was a conduit to an unexplored region of Star Trek's galaxy. Even after the Gamma Quadrant's rulers, the Dominion, crossed into the Alpha Quadrant and declared war on the Federation, Deep Space Nine remained at its post at the gate of the wormhole. Starbase 80 is Star Trek Lower Decks' new Deep Space Nine. Star Trek Lower Decks' finale now puts the multiverse in play by creating a stable portal into unlimited alternate universes. Just like Deep Space Nine and the Bajoran wormhole to the Gamma Quadrant, Starfleet established a new mission to guard this multiversal portal and explore the various quantum realities. Because of the portal's dangerous tachyon radiation, only one starbase has systems old enough to be unaffected. Thus, Starbase 80, formerly known as the worst starbase in the Federation, now guards the portal. With Captain Carol Freeman Dawn Lewis assigned to oversee Starfleet's multiverse exploratory mission, it makes the former captain of the USS Cerritos Star Trek Lower Decks' equivalent to Captain Benjamin Sisko. Star Trek Lower Decks spent several seasons setting up the undesirable Starbase 80 before revealing it in Season 5, but the animated comedy's endgame was always to give Star Trek Lower Decks its own version of Deep Space Nine. Just as the Cerritos inherits the mantle of Star Trek, the Next Generation's USS Enterprise D&E, Star Trek Deep Space Nine leveled up with the introduction of the USS Defiant in Season 3, which created new story opportunities and lined up DS9 with the other Starship-based Star Trek series. It's no coincidence that to go with Starbase 80 as its version of Deep Space Nine, Star Trek Lower Decks Season 5, Episode 9, Fisher Quest, introduced the Anaximander, a Defiant-class starship led by Captain William Boimler, Jack Quaid. The Anaximander completes Star Trek Lower Decks' revamp of Deep Space Nine's concept and mission. It's also fitting alternate reality versions of Star Trek Deep Space Nine's Dr. Julian Bashir, Alexander Siddig, and Alam Garak, Andrew Robinson, are part of the Anaximander's crew and are a couple. Although sadly, Star Trek Lower Decks' alternate reality Curzon Dax, Fred Tatasciore, didn't live to see the stable multiverse portal. As the USS Cerritos, with its new command structure, warps into new voyages, Star Trek Lower Decks also ends with its own Deep Space Nine, and hopefully we will see what became of Starbase 80's mission someday. The Star Trek universe is no stranger to space stations playing pivotal roles in shaping the Federation's history. Deep Space Nine, DS9, left an indelible mark on fans with its unique storylines, morally complex characters, and a geopolitical backdrop in the aftermath of the Cardassian occupation of Bajor. Now, in a surprising move, the Star Trek universe has introduced a new station that is garnering attention, Starbase 80. While it may not have the same war-torn, epic backstory as DS9, it has a mission that sets it apart, carving its niche within the expansive Federation landscape. A storied history, Starbase 80 is not a new entity within Starfleet's lore. In fact, it has long existed in the background, mentioned occasionally with a reputation as a place for troublemakers or where assignments could be seen as punishments rather than privileges. Its history is less glamorous than DS9 or other prominent outposts, often depicted as a somewhat run-down, out-of-the-way station. But now, in recent Star Trek installments, it has undergone a transformation, both in terms of its physical structure and its mission. Set on the far outskirts of Federation space, Starbase 80 is a key hub for deep space exploration, diplomacy, and humanitarian efforts. While it lacks the strategic importance of DS9, situated near the Bajoran wormhole, Starbase 80's location allows it to serve as the Federation's gateway to the less charted regions of the galaxy. In an era where the Federation is still reeling from conflicts like the Dominion War and the Burn in Star Trek Discovery, the need for deep space missions has only increased, and Starbase 80 is leading the charge. The crew and their mission. What truly distinguishes Starbase 80 is its mission and crew composition. Unlike DS9, which saw Starfleet working closely with Bajoran officers and civilians, Starbase 80 serves as a multicultural, multilateral diplomatic nexus. The station is staffed by a mixture of Starfleet officers, non-Federation personnel, and independent contractors. This reflects a broader post-war effort by Starfleet to promote unity and collaboration across species in rebuilding the galaxy after years of conflict and loss. Starbase 80's commanding officer, Captain Nyla Trenter, is emblematic of this ethos. A veteran of the Dominion War and former intelligence officer, Trenter's reputation for pragmatic leadership and diplomacy precedes her. Her background in espionage has made her uniquely suited to handle the delicate, high-stakes missions that Starbase 80 now undertakes. However, unlike the hardened and cynical Benjamin Sisko of DS9, Trenter approaches her position with a sense of optimism and determination to ensure that the mistakes of the past are not repeated. Starbase 80's crew is intentionally diverse, both in terms of their species and their backgrounds. Among the key crew members is Commander Val Threll, a former Romulan senator who defected to the Federation. Val provides a unique perspective on interspecies diplomacy, as his experience with the Romulan Empire's fall has given him both political acumen and empathy for displaced peoples. This reflects Starfleet's new commitment to reconciliation and reintegration after the devastating aftermath of the Romulan supernova. Exploration meets humanitarianism at its core. Starbase 80 is about exploration and humanitarianism in a post-war galaxy. Where DS9 served as a center for war-related diplomacy and intrigue, Starbase 80's mission is to reach out to isolated civilizations, offer aid to war-torn worlds, and rebuild alliances. The station's location on the edge of known space allows Starfleet to push into the uncharted sectors while providing a safe haven for those fleeing from conflict or environmental disaster. Starbase 80 is more than a military outpost or diplomatic center. It's a beacon of hope, representing the best ideals of Starfleet. While DS9 tackled the darker themes of war, occupation, and morality, Starbase 80 focuses on the healing process. Its mission highlights the Federation's resilience, even after years of internal and external strife. Episodes set around Starbase 80 often feature storylines involving rescue missions, first contact with new species, and negotiations between factions vying for survival in an increasingly unpredictable galaxy. These missions offer a refreshing take on Star Trek's exploration theme, combining adventure with the important work of rebuilding. Facing the unknown. While Starbase 80's mission is one of peace, it's not without its challenges. The galaxy remains a dangerous place, and the regions around the station are home to unknown threats. From rogue factions and space pirates to remnants of hostile species like the Breen or opportunistic Ferengi traders, Starbase 80 often faces crises that push the limits of its resources and crew. There's also an emerging mystery surrounding the station's sector, an unexplored nebula that seems to warp space-time itself. As the crew explores this phenomenon, they discover that it may hold the key to a new frontier or an existential threat. Starbase 80, a new era of Trek. Starbase 80's mission may not have the same focus on conflict as DS9, but it embodies a different kind of frontier, one of reconciliation, rebuilding, and rediscovery. Its unique position as a hub for exploration and diplomacy, combined with the challenges of an unpredictable galaxy, allows Star Trek to explore new storylines that remain true to the